Here's how to pass your product manager interview. I've been wanting to create this video for so long. I'm so excited to share everything I know about product management. If it's your first time here, I'm Coach Rountree. On my channel and platforms, I post interview tips and career advice to help you elevate your game. But I'm also a senior product manager at a Fortune 500 company. And last year I had a great experience. I passed all the way to the final round of a Google product manager interview. I ended up accepting another offer, but I grew and learned so much going through the Google interview process, and I want to share everything that I learned from that experience. Please give me a thumbs up, subscribe or follow, and share this content with anyone that you know that's interested in product management. Let's jump in. There are going to be 3 sections to the video. The first, I'm going to break down a product manager interview versus a traditional interview, so you know why it's so challenging. Secondly, I'm going to go through a real prompt that I've received from interviewing with different startups and big tech companies and show you how I would approach answering that question. The third thing is I'm going to go back and critique my answer and give you some thoughts of why I approach it a certain way so that you have everything you need to prepare for your product manager interview. Congrats! You have a product manager interview coming up today, next week, next month. Why is a product manager interview so challenging? Why is it so different? Well, first, it's not like a traditional interview. If you go to 99% of companies, when you interview with them, they all have these behavioral, tell me about a time when you led a team. Tell me about a time when you managed conflict. Tell me about a time when you demonstrated leadership. Those are all behavioral based. And it's based on what you did in the past. How you acted in the past, those interviews are thinking that's how you're going to actually perform in the job in the future. So that's how they're evaluating you. So if you're preparing for those traditional interviews, all you really have to do is review your career, and for each job, create a star story. A star story is situation, task, action, result. It's a way to respond to those behavior questions. The last thing about a traditional interview is that they're coming to the game in a very structured and prepared way. They have 3 to 5 questions that they have to ask you. There's not a lot of wiggle room or flexibility. They have a set schedule. Some jobs, they'll print the questions out for the hiring manager and they have to ask those specific questions. So that's traditional. Product interviews are completely different. It's all about how you think on the spot. So it's not about what you did in the past. It's not about your current role. It's really trying to understand how you think and operate as a product manager. Have you mastered the discipline of product management? They want to understand your product sense or insights. Can you actually build a product that's not even related to your current scope? Do you have the mental capacity to really think broadly, think strategically? They also want to understand your strategic insight. So how would you adapt to a situation based on your knowledge of the customer, competition, the marketplace? They want to see how savvy you are in strategic. And the last is really product design. Can you have a customer-focused product development process and demonstrate that in the interview? So that's why product manager interviews are so challenging. You might get questions such as, for example, strategic insight. How would you improve YouTube? And that's actually the prompt that we're going to use. For product sense, you might get, how would you design a refrigerator for a family of 5? So something that's not even related to what you're doing today, but these sort of prompts, they're trying to see how you would approach it. Do you have a framework? So let's talk about how to prepare for some of these product manager interviews. So we just talked about a traditional interview. It's very behavioral based. Tell me about a time when you led a team. Tell me about a time when you managed conflict. It's all about what you've done in the past, and it's very structured. They're coming in with their questions prepared. Product interviews, completely different. It's all about how you think. They want to judge your product sense or insight. Can you actually build a product? Can you build a product focused on a customer pain point? They want to understand your strategic insight. How would you adapt to a situation based on the customer, competition, the market, your know-how? Are you adaptable? And lastly, they want to understand your product design capabilities. Can you build a customer-focused product that really solves problems? and team, is all in real time and it's very interactive. Like, for example, I was on an interview years back, got on the Zoom call. The first thing the interviewer says, okay, thank you so much for your time. Let's jump in. Let's solve some problems. How would you improve YouTube? Stopped. That's how the interview started. And if I didn't research the competitors, if I didn't research products that had over 1 billion users, I would have been caught flat-footed. So there's a lot. We're going to talk about prep next, but the traditional approach for product manager interviews, it will not work. It's a completely different animal. Let's talk about how to prepare for them. So we just talked about why product manager interviews are so challenging and different. It's not structured. It's all about how you think, your product design, your product insight, your strategic insight, and being able to think on the spot. It's very interactive and it's real time. They want to see your ability to think strategically to solve problems for customers, and you're doing all that right there on the spot. You're getting asked questions like, how would you improve YouTube? Or how would you build a refrigerator for a young family? Like it's much different than your traditional interview, but how do you prepare? Preparing for a product manager interview is completely different. First, you need to develop a framework. When I say framework, it's a structured way that you go about solving the problem. And there's some resources that I want to highly recommend. First, Product Alliance. They have a product manager boot camp. They have several different courses. I actually purchased this course to prepare for my Google interview, and it was invaluable. I'm going to link that in the comments as well as in the description below. But I highly recommend their Google Product Manager course. It's something that I dove deep into and prepared to be ready for that interview. So highly recommend that. And what that did is it really took my product mindset to a whole different level. Just being able to see other product managers that have worked at Google and some of the other big tech companies, how they thought about solving problems. It really rubbed off on me, and I was able to develop my own authentic way of answering these questions that you typically get in a product manager interview. So you really want to study the products and services. So if you have a product manager interview at Google, you definitely should dive into their products and services. Know how many users they have. What is the business model? Who are their target customers? What are some of the recent launches? Download that specific app. Go through it as a user. See if you can identify any opportunities to improve it. So you really got to get in the lab and prepare. Mock interviews with other product managers. Highly recommend that you reach out to folks on LinkedIn. There are organizations like the Black Product Manager Network, which I'm a part of, where you can do mock interviews with other people in the group. But you definitely do not want to come to these interviews cold. What I mean by that is not having reps, practice to be able to understand and really respond to these different prompts with your framework. It's something that you've practiced. It just rolls off your tongue, and you know how to lock in and get to that, not necessarily the right answer, but the right thought process. And that's a big one. It's really not about the answer. It's more so the interview saying, okay, you can think strategically about a product. You understand how to have a customer-focused product design. So it's all about the thought process. Lastly, from my perspective, it usually takes 4 to 12 weeks to prepare for a big product manager interview. I'm talking the Googles, the Metas, the Amazons. When you talk about the Apples, those big dog jobs, you definitely need several weeks to prepare. And so give yourself that buffer when you're scheduling that with your hiring manager or recruiter. All right, now we're getting to the fun part. We've gone through traditional interview versus product, how to prepare. Now we're going to jump into me actually going through and answering one of the prompts. My prompt is going to be, how would you improve YouTube? And I'm going to go through the framework. Again, this framework I learned from Product Alliance. There is a link in the description. There's also a link in the comments. If you want to invest in yourself and invest in this course, I highly recommend it, because I would not have passed my Google Product Manager interviews without this course. game changer, and it also helped me to grow as a product manager. So I looked at it not just an investment for my interview, but how can I get better as a product manager, and highly recommend that. So I'm going to go through the frameworks that I've learned with that prompt now.